Okay, let's screen share this one. What do you see?
I see the YouTube channel,
What do you see now? Just the video?
just the video.
So if I hit play, you can see the movement.
Yes, it's a little latency, but yeah.
The video was shot 12 years ago. So like the distortion is definitely for real on that camera,
hmm
right?
I remember this dance.
There I go side flipping when I was acrobatic. But no, I was just thinking of the foam fingers, because I still have this one right here.
Yes. You found it.
I actually have the collection, which none of them know about. Like I have this one too.
Nice.
um, if I tuck uh, this and this in, it's still a
Yeah,
one.
if you tape it down, there you go.
Yeah,
Got
but
to start with promo type, right?
we did the whole like finger tut thing because finger tutting was
Uh huh.
big.
Yeah.
It was not my idea. It was one of the other leaders' ideas, and but yeah, I don't I don't know that any of them know that I have these. So
Well, if any of the point blank dudes are watching, and we know you are, welcome to one set. But dude, Phillies, let's talk. So we wanted to say, that I don't think either of us knew we would be seeing them in the postseason, because the last time we were talking, it was the point that we were thinking they were just done. And now they won the wild card series. They just played today in their first playoffs game. I mean, you can technically take the wild card games as playoff games, but like the first legit, uh, you know, division series game in since 2011, and we come out beating the Braves. That was awesome.
I mean, it goes without saying, Anth. Honestly, like we managed to squeeze into the wild card series, and I was confused because it was like this is the first time the Phillies are clinching a wild card berth. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's because this is the first, like they just started the whole um like three wild card teams thing.
hmm
And like several episodes ago, I said that like it was seeds 3 and 4 face each other and seeds 5 and 6 face each other. That was completely inaccurate. So once again, casual sports fans here, not out here diehard. So like if you're
Yeah,
out here looking for the diehard facts, like please scrutinize us all that you want and be like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Like we're just
the
casually watching
casual.
and
We're
enjoying it.
the CFs, casual fans.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, like realistically, it's like, I don't know. I think for us to go in to St. Louis and beat the Cardinals in the first 2 games and then go to Atlanta and beat the Braves in the first game, it's like, all right, we have a situation here, right? It's definitely
Yeah,
worth honoring and acknowledging.
acknowledge. Yeah, man. I mean, they're definitely riding on a momentum wave, and whatever they got to do to kind of continue this wave is amazing. Because we were saying like back in the middle of the season, I think I heard a lot of things that like back in 2008 we were the same record as what we were in the middle of the season this season. So that's like they're starting to correlate a lot of things from the championship season back in 2008, and everybody's making speculations. But and then I think when Bryce Harper got hurt, we're like, okay, well, you know, we'll just see what happens with the rest of the season. And, we were kind of up and down, and now we're 3 games into the postseason and we're looking pretty good, you know? So I'm hoping they just continue to ride this wave.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. When I think when the Phillies won in '08, that I was a little bit more invested prior, because I think I caught the energy that everyone was like, no, they're it. Like they have everything lined up, right?
Yeah,
I think and I don't have an honest reason other than like I wanted to follow a team from the beginning of the season to the end. So
yeah,
when we go back to like episodes 9 and 10, when we're literally going back to when the Phillies started preseason
the
at the end of
season. Right.
February, I have never been dedicated to watching a team. And it's hard to say because like the Phillies, and we've talked about how many games each league plays type of thing. Like
Yeah,
it's hard to stay in tune with all 160 plus baseball games, especially
absolutely.
they vary. I mean, the football games vary between Thursday night, Monday night, and Saturday, 1 o'clock, 4:30, or 8 p.m. So in football
Right.
season, it's like, okay, Thursday night, if I can hack it, great. If I can't, I miss
You're
one.
getting something. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
the Eagles play, I think November 3rd, the Thursday night game. But that's the only one. And the big crack right now is it's all on like Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and I haven't watched a Thursday night game on Amazon Prime yet. I have it set up, but I just haven't, really tuned in to watch it on a Thursday night. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it because, I mean, I'm sure it's a business tactic that they went with and they're trying something out for this season. But I don't know, like you're putting Thursday night football behind a paywall now, and I mean, but you're still getting Sunday all day football and Monday night football in its regular form, but now you have to watch Thursday night football behind a paywall. So it's like, you know, some people don't want to do that. But then again, like you said, if you don't watch Thursday night football, it's not like you're out of football for the rest of the week. You still have all day Sunday and your regular Monday night football. So I don't know if they'll continue. I mean, if they still have the viewership from Amazon Prime for it, then it'll work out. But
Here, hang on, I'm sending you something, and we're gonna play rock paper scissors over here in real time, to figure out who gets to read this out loud, because you and I are both awful at reading things out loud. So let me know when you get it.
sweet.
No rehearsing.
Where are you
Or
sending it to?
I sent it to your FB Messenger. You get to read through it once because I've already read through it. Only to be fair.
So, all right. So the photo came up. So you said, am I reading the photo? Am I reading what the photo says or?
You can read it in your head once just so you can mentally prep yourself, because I've already read it. It's not fair for us to do rock, paper, scissors on something that I've already read and you haven't. So go ahead and read it through. I'm
All
just
right.
going to.
Let me get my C grade reading in. Oh, you're going to give me some math skills on this. I hate you.
Not. No, I mean, I don't like it's. I don't know. the
Yeah, I'm just
comparison.
skimming through it right now. So
Yeah. Basically, once you get to the last sentence, you're going to be like, oh my God. Because I actually tried to watch that Thursday night game because I could. And I was like, okay, well, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, but he has not been doing, like, he has not jived very well with the Broncos just yet in his first season with them. So,
gotcha.
kind of a thing.
Yeah, because of the Broncos game being such like a horrible game that it just ended up in field goals. So they spent $78 million just for field goals.
Yeah. I mean, it's the track record for the Thursday night games is just like why everyone's like,
People were
oh,
saying like,
so
"Oh, we
all
should
the
probably get."
no, it's more so people are like, you're just telling me why I shouldn't subscribe to Amazon Prime to watch these games because you're just giving us all of the bad games. Like honestly,
Exactly. People were saying like we should get a month like free just by watching that game that we had. Like Amazon should give us a free month after watching that game.
yeah. I mean, like the Thursday night game tomorrow, as in because it's after 1 a.m. on Wednesday, October 12th.
Yeah.
But the Thursday night game is the Washington Commanders at the Chicago Bears. Again, like, does anyone
Yeah.
need to see that game?
Trash.
Trash.
And and they're already. Did you hear what the head coach of the Commander said? That
No. Oh, it's all
one of the
Wentz's
reporters
fault.
was saying, yeah, the bid. So why do you guys think you're only having like your record like 1-3? Why do you think it's like because of the quarterback? And I'm like, damn. But he had already started 1-3, and Carson hasn't really proved himself, so it's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to even
They have they
acknowledge?
haven't they
I
haven't
mean,
benched him yet, but
it's only week 5. They're in the first half of the season. They're not going to bench him until they're like, okay, you you've literally done almost nothing for us for the first half of the season, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, if it were me, I would have bet on the Packers winning against the Giants in London and the London silly nannies. No, the Giants actually overcame the
Yeah.
Packers.
I was
So,
very surprised with that. So,
I mean,
yeah, I
that's
mean,
why you messaged me and were like, the Giants are probably the biggest threat to the NFC East. I was like, well, wait until we see what the Cowboys are doing. And now, I mean, Cowboys look bad, especially after Dak going down early on, but they've been doing okay, right? Like, so
they've
I
been
think,
doing okay. I mean, they're 3-1, so I mean, they're not doing bad. And they beat I think Dallas beat the Giants. So, I mean, like I said, it's always going to be a fight between the Eagles and Eagles and Dallas, no matter where they are, and what record, how many games are they're winning or losing. Uh, it's always going to be a rival game, and it's definitely going to be a bloodbath. So, it'll be a fun game to watch.
I mean, I said the Thursday night game tomorrow is the Commanders at the Bears. Double doink all day, every
Double
day,
doink.
for all I
Hmm.
care.
Right.
um, and then the Thursday night game uh, next week is the Saints at the Cardinals, which I don't think is a bad matchup at
That's
all.
not too bad.
No.
That's not too bad. But the Saints haven't really been anything too special this year either. But
Yeah, not exactly.
like you said, you're not, and to explain your point for Amazon Prime, they're not giving you primetime games. They're
No.
just giving you mediocre, you know, mid-card games if you're talking if you're taking wrestling terms out of it, you're getting like decent mid card games out of it. You're not getting, you know, high quality, it's not like you're getting
The
uh
the Bucks at the Chiefs or something like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting
That
a Bucks and Chiefs game. No.
that's a game you want to see. Or the Rams with the Bengals, which was like the Super Bowl rematch, right? Or
Which I think people would understand paying for those. They wouldn't mind paying for those. But if you're paying X amount of money to see a whoopsie game, you know, then yeah, you're going to complain like, why am I giving you this money and these games are trash? You
dude,
know,
it it
so
says it says Amazon paid about $78 million to broadcast these Thursday night games. So if you're giving us not great matchups and you're looking for, oh, we're going to entice our NFL audience to literally pay for these other subscription services just to be able to watch us, like, you do realize that your hardcore fans are going to be subscribing to NFL Plus so that they can get everything, or ESM, ESPN Plus so that they can get everything. Like,
mhm.
you're literally just trying to sucker money out of casual fans like us that are like, oh, well, we have cable, but since we have cable on every other streaming platform but this one, I'll pay my week free, to subscribe to be able to watch that game. And then I won't be able to watch the next game, or I'll be too lazy to cancel my subscription. And then that's how they get me every month. Right.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. Like, I understand the approach because, look, your major sports organizations understand that cable TV is dying. So many people are cutting the cord. So many people are just going to strictly like streaming platforms. So they're like, okay, well, we need to start broadcasting our stuffs outside of just cable networks because a lot of people are cutting. So, and I think that this is why they're doing what they're doing. They're just signing these huge contracts with said streaming platforms. And I'm just like, this is like you're going from paying for one cable network to you're paying for five cable networks because you have
Yeah.
to have all of the streaming platforms in order to see everything. And it's
Mhm.
just like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you currently pay for? And don't tell me what you pay for everything. Just tell me like what you're subscribed to.
As far as like for entertainment wise, or
Yeah,
so
I
like
mean,
you got Netflix, Amazon
mhm,
Prime,
mhm.
uh no, I don't do Disney Plus. I don't do HBO Max. My brother has those, so we kind of I usually share his stuff, so I don't really pay for those.
Sure.
Uh Trying to think. Uh I mean, I guess cable provider, I have Xfinity. So I mean,
Okay.
we pay for that. So I mean, that technically is a provider. So those three in general. How about you?
Well, you being the independent married father that you are,
Oh shucks.
well, um, I I pay for HBO Max currently.
Hmm.
That's like my one thing. When I met Cheyenne, she had Netflix, she had Hulu Live,
Okay.
which Hulu Live gets you like the cable and the live stream stuff,
Right.
which like you get your local sports stuff. So anytime the Eagles or the Phillies are on, like, we can use Hulu Live to watch. Um,
Gotcha. Oh yeah. Yeah. I also have a Fire Stick. So, but
okay,
that's not necessarily. I
she,
mean, too much of a pay thing. But Uh,
Right.
we bought that for when we were, sleeping in little guy's room for a couple months when he was just transitioning, uh,
Right.
you know, out of his crib, or actually transitioning from him sleeping in our room to sleeping in his room in his crib. So we were
Right.
kind of just, in that like, oh my God, we don't want to leave him alone type of thing. So we set up the Fire Stick and a TV in his room. So we'd be sleeping in his room, and then we would just use that. So then we didn't want to put a whole cable cord in there. So we would get, just some basic stuff. We would get like TLC, and, you would be able to get a lot of your decent channels. Now, for me, uh, if it were me, I would get rid of Xfinity and just go Fire Stick, Hulu, and all that type of stuff. But the only thing that's holding us back is using like on demand from Xfinity, because we like to go back if we miss a show, or if Jen misses one of her shows, she knows that she can go back and rewatch it later on. Where on a lot of the Fire Sticks and stuff, you necessarily can't do that as fast as like the cable networks.
Well, it's streaming when it's available, not streaming on demand. Streaming on
Right.
demand is on demand.
On
You
demand.
pay a premium for that, right?
Right.
So, so at my parents, they have like Verizon, FiOS. They have on demand,
Hmm.
and um, they have Amazon Prime. So Um, Cheyenne actually upgraded her Hulu Live and Plus to have Disney Plus. So,
Right.
like we have access to Disney Plus, to Hulu, Live, Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, I pay for Peacock for the WWE
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah. That too.
I
Same
I
here.
got HBO. I got HBO Max for the Mortal Kombat movie. I have it now to be able to freely stream all the HBO things,
Yeah.
because you can't just get all of that on demand on FiOS. And granted, I'm not always at my parents. Sometimes I am not there, and like you, I want to be able to go back and watch this Game of Thrones episode that I'm like, this is just so iconic.
Yeah.
You can't just do that anywhere.
Right.
My mom, my mom actually purchased Top Gun Maverick on YouTube, and I'm like, you bought a movie on YouTube? What's wrong with
Yeah.
you? I'm like, who does that?
Yeah.
but but you like, I guess she just saw purchase on the first thing, and she was like, because
Right.
moms, like
Moms like
your
push
mom would,
buttons.
probably be like, ooh,
Yeah,
and then
my
you're
mom is not the most computer. Sorry, mom. She is not the most computer savvy person. So
neither's
I
mine.
uh so I sometimes just don't even bother to tell her like, "Hey, you have to go into your email, click this link, and then it's going to bring you to this page, and then you have to log in." I don't even, sometimes she's able to do it, but then there's other times where I'm like, I'll just do it for you, because there's no point in me wasting breath to be like having you be like, what? So I'm like, I'll just do it for you. But
Okay,
yeah.
what is there a streaming thing, or somewhere that a show is advertised on this platform that you're like, I don't have access to that?
Well, when the new House of the Dragon was being advertised, uh, we had like the 3 month package for HBO, and then after like the 3 months, then you can have the choice to keep it or not. We never kept it, and I'm like, all right, well, uh, and when we were watching Game of Thrones, going into episode or season 7 and 8, I was using the HBO Max from with my brother, so I was sharing his like I do now. And when the new House of the Dragon stuff started coming on, I was contemplating, do I want to just put in a subscription for HBO so that I don't have to use his stuff, or do I just, get his password again, blah blah blah. So that was like one thing. I'm like, all right, well, I can either just get my own subscription or just continue to just use his things. So long story short, I just share it with him, and the same thing with the Disney Plus, because his son watches some of the same stuff that little Anth watches, so they have both their different profiles, so none of their stuff gets like mixed in, but they like to watch a little bit of the same stuff, uh and
Yeah,
so it's
but
easier.
their age differences, like there's what's little Chris, like a year and a half almost older than little Tone?
Yeah, he's like a year and maybe 3 months. May to June, May to August, May, July.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-4 months. So a year and
There's
roughly.
at their age differences, there's gonna be like so much of a differentiation, but as they get older, it's gonna squeeze. And it's
Yeah,
like once they're let me think. Little Tones. I mean, that's all gonna depend on when little Chris starts school and when little Tone starts school, how many grades apart they are. Like,
yeah. Little Chris just started, school 2 weeks ago in the or beginning of September. So yeah, he's probably about a month in already. So he's
see,
starting
at
to get.
preschool.
It's like a Catholic school. So yeah, I guess it's like a preschool type thing, daycare preschool type thing.
Okay.
So he's getting into that. Uh, where little Anth, he's been in daycare since 2020. So he's been in daycare for 2 years now, almost. It'll be 2 years in November, I believe. So he kind of, in that aspect, has a one up on little Chris. But yeah, like you were saying, I think once they probably turn maybe 5, 6, they'll start kind of, closing in those gaps on like things that they can similarly like. I mean, they both like that new Amazing Spider-Man cartoon. Little Chris is really into, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where Lil Anth is really not too much in, but he'll, if you have it on, he'll watch it, but he's not like too into it. So yeah, I think as they kind of get older, like you said, they're things of like they'll be able to, kind of squeeze in to be like, kind of being on the same level with each other.
Well, I'm beyond thrilled to see both of them grow up. Obviously, like they're a little different in ages, but like I said, like as time goes on, they're gonna be like, even if Lil Anth is like a year and some change behind. Um, I mean,
Whoopsie.
as time moves on, whether they're preteens, teenagers, graduating high school, college,
Yeah.
mid to late 20s, 30s, like that age difference doesn't even
Whoopsie.
matter. It just depends on
Mm-mm.
like how everybody perceives everything to be what it is, right? Like
Right.
it's
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like little small instances once they get to like that level, and it's
mhm.
cool kind of like to see them now, because uh little Lance kind of looks at Chris and he's trying to like do like the mimicking thing with him now. So like if little Chris is doing something, little Lance will try to like mimic it, and then they're like really now that Anthony's starting to talk a little bit more, they're starting to interact that much more, and Anthony's starting to like physically play with his toys, not just like baby fine. Like he's starting to actually like with like little action figures and starting to learn to be like, like play fighting and doing all this stuff. So he's starting to like interact with his toys better. So I think he's able to connect with Chris on a whole new level now. But Anthony still can't understand Chris on some levels, where Chris tries to talk to Ant and he can't really understand sometimes when he's talking. So they're still distant, but still, able to communicate. But it's cool to kind of see like how they were a year ago to what they are now. So it's again the progressions of how they're kind of starting to interact with each other.
Yeah, I mean it, and I think it's really like, man, graduating high school. This is so fun to think about. Like when you and I were in our cap and gowns and we were graduating. I mean,
Hmm.
and this is like such an important lesson that I learned as like a dance student, because it wasn't preached while I was in like general school or post secondary, not post secondary, but like growing up through school. It was never like, oh, well, even though you're in 10th grade, there might be a ninth grader or 100 of them that are way smarter than you.
Hmm.
And there's also a good shot that you're way smarter than 100 of the juniors that are a grade above you.
Yeah.
Like, that was never really a thought in my mind going through high school. I was just like, okay, I'm here where I need to be. And the only time that I ever felt like I was superior or inferior was where I was like, all right, well, I'm in AP classes and my friends are in academic classes taking math. So I'm obviously smarter than them in this, but I
Hmm.
also felt incredibly R word when it came to reading and writing. So, like, and I knew that there were people younger than me that could read, absorb,
Yeah.
retain, be able to give you a full-on lecture about what they just read that was like 5 sentences long, and they could expand on that for 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
My
I could never
my
do that.
my niece, who was in 6th grade, she could go on forever and talk. If I said, I want you to talk about this for 10 minutes and go, she would do it.
She would do it.
I could never, I would never be that person. She would
No.
elaborate. And I'm just like, I looked at numbers, I looked at math, I looked at them like they were puzzles in a game.
Like, I
And
looked
that's
at
why I
you
was,
and like I could have used you like 20 years ago. It's like
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's so weird, like, and the compare game itself, like that in itself is just not a fun thing. And oof, I remember, and I hope that at some point someone, not someone that I know that knows the story, but anyone that can resonate with this will hear this and understand. I was at a seminar once, and the leader of the seminar at the time, a huge influential speaker for the dance and artist community, was like, raise your hand if you compare yourself to other people and you see other people flourishing and it looks like they're not even trying that hard. They're just doing things and people fall over their faces for them. Um, and then you ask yourself, okay, well, I'm just not taking it super seriously. So me, why
Mhm.
is me? Why am I not getting that same recognition? And that comparison game is so brutally hard in the art industry. And I know you know this. I know it immensely hard
Mhm.
because I played the hey, I just want to be good at my craft. Like, don't get me to play this politicking game because I got through so many years of trying to become recognized just because I was talented,
Yeah.
um, to the point where it was like I got into seminars where it was like, I've seen you so often uh, for the last 5 to 10 years, but I can tell this group over here is having more fun together, and my energy is gravitating towards them because they're just having fun and they're a team and they're collectively selling me, whereas you're just trying to execute and be great. And it's like, I've seen that a million times over, but they're having more fun than you. So I'm going to
Mm.
turn my eye away from you and look over here. And I think that that's like so important. Like, think about the smartest top 3 or 5 people that you knew in high school,
Hmm.
like chasing that valedictorian, salutatorian, like top ranking
Yeah.
status. And it's like, do you remember who those people are? Or do you remember who the people who had the most fun in high school were?
Right.
It's like those people figured out how to be successful by like acquiring and obtaining good scores, but they also knew that like the scores weren't the end all be all, right? They
Yeah.
found the balance and having fun. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum where it's like they don't even care about the scores; they're just partying, and then they fall
Hmm.
off the face of the earth, right? So that's where the balance is like so important, right? Um,
Right. And I like what you just said about the fact that you were comparing the fact that like you had this one person who's like just plainly like in the thoughts of like, okay, not necessarily don't mess up, but like, point A to point B, hit this turn, that turn, thinking and making sure that
mhm,
you're executing great, you're looking great, you're doing this. But then you have the other group that, not that they don't care, but they're having fun and they're just expressing, and they're like, well, you see this guy, he's like, I can see, they're having fun. I know you're talented, but you're trying too hard to convince yourself that you're great, and you're trying to get people to see that. I know you are, but these people are having the other here, they're having fun doing it by not thinking too much. So I'm going to gravitate to that. And so much, and I can relate this back to music, because I'm that same way. I've always struggled, and I'm sure you can see this through the fact that doing this podcast, I've always struggled with trying to get people to see me as like an artist, because I always, and the validation talks that I've always talked to you about, I feel people always pass me up, or that like I don't get the recognition that I feel that I do. But then I always have these bubbles of like times where that people do know who I am. They do know that I play music, and they do agree that I am a good guitar player, that I can perform well. But then there's times where, I feel like I'm just on a cloud by myself. And, I'm trying so hard to impress people, but then there's these other guys that are getting way more shows, and, you feel like they're good, but you feel like I know I can play with these people. I know I'm worthy of being in the same limelight of these people. Why am I not recognized with these people? Maybe because maybe they just have a better network, or maybe, like you said, maybe they're just having more fun and they don't have to portray themselves as like, uh, you know, the thinker. They just do it. Where guys like you and me, we have to put forth a little bit more effort to get that recognition, to show people that we are worthy of being taken serious, where others may not have to work as hard. They just do it, and it's just like a natural thing, which both sides, I feel, it's not too bad. But it's like, I think that's where you and I are kind of the same. Like, we always want to make sure that we look the part, and we're looking professional. We know what we're doing, and we want to leave people saying that that guy's got something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I just got this really cool idea, and I don't want to share it while recording. I want to share it uh,
Okay.
at another time, dude. Sixers are starting soon. Flyers are starting soon. Eagles are undefeated still. I gotta say, as I've previously said, um, each game is a winnable game, and I actually
Mhm.
feel that way about the Phillies now.
Right.
Because I thought that the Phillies just squeezed in just to like round this out a little bit. I thought the Phillies just got into the wild card round, but then when they crushed, and I say crushed, um, I can say Phillies crushed Cardinals because they beat them in the first two games, and
Yeah.
you're playing a good Cardinals team, but the word going in was that the Cardinals did not have much of a central division to even battle to get
Mm.
themselves into the postseason. And
Yeah.
the article that I read that claimed that was clearly not far off if the Phillies were able to just go in and just get them in the first two games.
Yeah, I did
And
not expect a sweep, so that was
more,
interesting.
yeah, moreover, Suarez, not a bad pitcher, but he led us to both um, at least twice. I might have missed because I had to leave for work. Um, two times, bases loaded, one or two outs. And I was like, dude, you're setting us up for failure here. And literally, Eflin, who is apparently our closer now, which I'm not like dogging, but like let up 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. And I'm like, dude, you're making this a winnable game for the Braves. Like, you can't be doing that. Right.
Exactly.
Um, but for the Phillies to win the first game uh, in this series, it's huge. It's a good deal because it's like obviously yes, we would like to win game two, and we would like to just win game three so that we have the extra rest before the next sequence. Um, and I don't want to jinx them,
Same. Because
like at
like I
all.
said, they're going on a big momentum ride, and it's more the fact that you just wanna continue to ride that wave of
Yeah,
momentum. You know, if they can come to Philly up 2, that would be awesome, but
right.
they almost lost the game today. So, hey, just like the Eagles, they could have easily lost this past game, this past weekend with the Cardinals, because that was a tight
Jesus,
game at the end too. Nothing
that
like Philly sports to keep you on your toes. Uh, but
that was
you know,
a bit abysmal at the end. Like, we're
yeah,
lucky we're still undefeated. Like, that wasn't
yes,
that was that was like if the Phillies had lost game one to Houston, but the Brewers had lost game one, then we would have just been a shoe into the playoffs. But instead, the Brewers won that first game against Atlanta. So then it was like in extra innings, and I'm texting him like, okay, it's up to the Phillies now. And the Phillies actually won that game. So it was like they earned that. Like, the Eagles didn't just earn that 5-0. Like, it was kind of handed like a gift to them because that was just a complete fluke that the Cardinals kicker way off missed that field goal kick. Like,
hmm
that to me is like, dude, you need to turn around and say that shouldn't have happened, and then you
Well, he was
better
missing him
crush.
in the he was missing him in the pre kick. Well, the pre warm ups, not pre kicks. He was missing 40 yarders in the pre warm ups too. So
Hmm.
it was funny that they were showing that, and then he did the same thing in the game. Now, I was watching it over at my uncle's house, and my dad was convinced that they possibly tipped it as well. uh, but it didn't look like it to me. But it looked exactly like the way he kicked it in the pre warm ups, that he was kicking it far right. So either way, he missed it, and I'm very surprised if he has not been giving a pink slip to be getting out of Arizona at this point, because he is not going to be their kicker next week. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, send him back down to the minor leagues, right?
Right?
Or go send him to Europe to play some football so he can kick
Football.
better, right? Football.
Football.
Um, Jeez. Not discriminating, not being disrespectful. Right. No, they need to have like an actual distinctive win against Dallas, especially at home. Sunday Night Football, to like state your claim. Like, yeah, we're not just good. We're pretty damn good. I
Hmm.
thought that the Cardinals game was going to be tight. I know I said that. Um,
Yeah.
but I looked back at like our record and I was like, man, these are all winnable games. Like we can win. Now, granted, after the game with Dallas, we have the bye week, so that's even more important. That it's like, yeah, I actually think that we need to win this game going into the bye week. So it's like the confidence is
Yes.
high. We're 6-0. Granted, the last time I saw a team go 6-0 was that is memorable was when the Chiefs went 6-0. They won 6 games straight and then they lost 6 games straight. So I'm like, I'm hoping
Yeah.
it's not like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the bye week can be beneficial, but it also
it's
can be detrimental as well, because if you're riding on a big momentum, having that week off out of that rhythm can take you off your game a little bit too. So, we obviously still want to win, but what they do during that bye week will be very crucial, because then they got the Steelers. Even though the Steelers haven't been doing that great, doesn't mean that they can pull an upset, you know?
right.
So going into that bye week, they definitely need to, and I'm sure, the coaches and everybody will be on them for the fact that, I mean, not that they're really taking a week off, but it's crucial what they'll be doing in that bye week to kind of keep focused, and knowing that, they still have, a lot of work to do. So excited for the
Yeah.
Eagles, excited for the Sixers, like you were saying. They start next week. Uh, in non,
Fly, Flyers start, I believe, late this week, but like
yeah,
they're kind of the last team that we're following. But I do want to keep up with them, only to be fair, especially because I'm so invested with the Phillies and the Eagles, especially the Sixers going into the postseason last year. And um, to be fair, I'd like to start following the Flyers just to be able to say, like, hey, this is why they're not doing good. Like, instead of being like, oh, I've just heard their shit, so
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And I think
So
since we're both really invested in a lot of Philly stuff, I think I'll probably give them a chance this year too, is to kind of just, keep a little bit more action on them, because I usually go see a Flyers game usually around January with some family members. So it'll it'll be kind of good to, go to the game with a little bit of like back history of knowing what they've been doing leading up to the game, because usually I just go to the games, I'm like, all right, well, what's the record, how are they playing? They weren't looking too bad, but I didn't really have any backstory with them.
yeah, I mean, like it's only fair, right? Like I followed the Phillies after last season where I had no business following them. Like I just was like, I think because it was February, like you're entering spring season, so like the weather's warming up, you're going into summer, like there's so many games in baseball, so I was like, if I miss one, meh. Um,
Hmm.
the season was just so interesting with the Phillies, especially with like getting rid of Joe Girardi, Bryce Harper's injury. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I always call him Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, even though he's Rob Thompson.
Yeah.
I always call him
But
Rob
hey,
Thomas because I don't
for
care.
a season that you've been dedicated to, you probably got the best season to be dedicated to because you got, a lot of things happening and you got the postseason out of it. So you
Eh,
definitely started on a good, year. Uh, but I know we're getting into the late evening, but I do want to get into this segment real quick before we get out of here.
of course.
It is Wednesday, but yesterday, meaning Tuesday, in the music world, we had some awesome news. Blink 182 is officially back. I'm stoked. Tom, Mark, and Travis are officially back together. I'm stoked for this. Now, I can't say that I was a diehard Blink 182 fan but I did listen to them. I loved everything about them. And I didn't get to see Blink 182 until a couple years ago before the pandemic, with Matt, who replaced Tom. They were doing the Enemy of the State tour, and they were doing Warp Tour, the last Warp Tour. So they did the whole Enemy of the State album front to back, and that was cool to see that. But I'm looking at the flyer, and I'm gonna send this to you right now, real quick. Uh, this is the tour flyer for Blink 182, and we'll probably put it up on the pod. Uh, that they are coming to Atlantic City on May 28th. Now, me and Jen have already talked possibly about, looking to try to go on that day, which is a Sunday. And that would be cool because I've obviously never seen the three of those guys together. And who knows, how long this run will be. And how many tours they'll get. They have a new song coming out Friday, which this episode's coming out, so the song should already be out. So if you guys want to, be the only time we probably be telling you guys to tune off of this, go check that out, then come back and watch the rest of this episode. But yeah, Blink 182 is back. Were you a Blink 182 fan when you were younger?
So honestly, like the first thing that comes to mind to me when I think of like, oh, this band is like returning and hitting, for me, because it wasn't like a delayed thing, like let's talk about Guns N' Roses real quick. Like they were supposed to have like a reunion for like 5,
Yeah.
10, 15. And finally, Jimmy Fallon on the one episode, the 1 year of the VMAs was like, I promise y'all, we got a big surprise coming for you. Just stay tuned. Get more
Yeah.
popcorn. Go get another beer. Stay tuned. Don't change the VH1. They're not doing this hit right here. All right. And we stuck around for Axl Rose to just stand there and look like a lesser half of Brett Michaels, but
Hmm.
he wasn't singing every rose. He was just like trying to do November Rain, but it was September and it wasn't even
Yeah.
raining. And I was just like,
It was hailing.
it was Van Halen.
Van Halen. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, honestly, like I appreciated the effort and everything. And like, I think nostalgia is important, right? And
Hmm.
that's why people do covers because it resonates with people that, you know, it lived in a time that they once lived and it brings them happy thoughts or maybe just puts them in a place where it gets them to recollect themselves,
Hmm.
you know?
And especially for Blink 182, because when, back in the 90s, when you think of like punk and that style of music, Blink 182 was definitely one of the pioneers of that type of style of music. And I think that's what just resonated with a lot of the kids at that age that like you and me like brought up in. So a lot of us kids now are just like stoked to kind of see the three the three amigos back together because thankfully Mark Hoppus is now in remission from his cancer, and he was able to the treatments and everything were able to work for him. So I had a thought that I'm like, okay, something out of this has to happen with, if Blink 182 is ever going to officially form back together, it has to happen now because it's one of those things like you get a sense of like, life, life is so short and fragile. You can be taken out of this world like that. And it seemed like over the last couple of years, they, the three of those guys were in good, company with each other because I think they left on bad terms. Tom left on bad terms with them, but then they started kind of regrouping. So you kind of knew that they were going to eventually get back together. It's just a matter of when, the timing, and everything. So just stoked to kind of officially see them back together, and I'm stoked to start seeing some videos pop up of them playing together. I'll be listening to the new song this coming Friday. So uh yeah, man. Other than that, uh I know it's getting a little late for us, but is there anything else we wanted to discuss with people? I mean, I know there's one thing we wanted to um mention that if people are interested, you guys are interested now, you guys can officially start uh, leaving us voice messages. There's a link in our description here. Uh, we have some. We have a certain episode that we're coming up with, and we'll probably make a post about some questions we want you guys to answer via these voice messages. And we're trying to think of a new segment idea that we will be airing some of these messages that you give us on the pod, and we'll read them out on the pod. So check out the link in our description. And even if it's not a specific question we ask you guys, if you guys want to, just, send us a voice message sharing your love for what we're doing, we'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll even share those on the pod. So, other than that, man, I have some things coming up. Show wise, I have a private gig that's coming this weekend, which will be actually tomorrow since this episode's coming out. Uh, I booked my first couple of shows for the new year, which will be next summer. So, um, and still working on this new music, trying to get this finished up. It's been a little bit more on a delay than what I would thought, but hopefully I'll try to get another new song out before the new year. Uh, anything on your end, my man?
Yeah, man. I need to give a shout out to, um, I'd have to say, one of our, geez, I'd have to say top three amongst the both of us. I mean, you and I met through wrestling. There's no doubt that we have to acknowledge not Roman Reigns, but Bray Wyatt. Um,
Absolutely.
his artistry and his creativity is something that I gravitate towards.
Hmm.
They hired someone from Marvel as a
Yeah.
long term storytelling booking person to oversee all of the feuds, to be able to say, okay, well, how can we stretch this out from week 1 to week 5? Like someone that is overlooking all of the feuds to say, how can we make this longer than 1 or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And by God, when I read that, I was like, this was probably the best thing that they like, because Triple H was like, well, why does Marvel work? And I think back to his interview with BT Sport, which is from Europe, which I know I've told you about this interview, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I implore you to listen to it whenever you can, when you're free. And Triple H says, I'm not competing with AEW. I'm competing with everybody. I'm competing with everybody in the entertainment industry. It's not just another wrestling promotion. It's why does this entertainment company thrive? Why are they working?
Yes.
He literally took a Marvel writer that understood, hey, we need to stretch this out over the span of 8 to 10 years. And he said, can you do that for me in the span of 8 to 10 months? And they were probably like, uh, yeah.
That's easy.
Oh, that's easy. um, honestly, um, we can recap Extreme Rules. Not going to because it's fall wrestling. We're all
Yeah.
getting to the Rumble, but I will say, Triple H is making the most of giving the audience matches that we just want to see.
Yeah.
It's not for the long haul like uh SummerSlam to Mania or Mania to SummerSlam, like because the fall they they do always dial it back because of the football situation and because their main season is January to April. Like though that's their biggest 3 months right there. Um, but I think with Triple H taking over right leading up to SummerSlam and late July it was. So the past 3 months have been like transition post Vince into Triple H, and I think that now um, it's just such a fun time to be a wrestling fan. I mean,
Yeah.
AEW, like as much as I have given them a fair chance and been like, hey, do your thing. And I'm still not dogging them. Um, I will say they're heavy hitters in the company that are under fire with investigation and stuff. I'm like, that's it's not great. But you do have your people like Moxley who are the champion that are um holding the company in good faith to be like,
Yes.
hey, we are a solid like alternative to everything that everyone's ever known. Like we're over here, we're pouring our hearts out on a line, like we're making interesting storylines and matches and this, that, and the other. But since I'm a subscriber to the LTG Living the Gimmick Patreon, um, and got to get some of the background knowledge from people that know better than you and I both do. Honestly, between John and Doug,
Yes.
I mean, they are not incorrect when they say the MVPs of WWE are the video production teams that do the promo packages because no other wrestling company under the sun can even hold a candle to their promo package videos. Like it's ridiculous
Nah.
every time. And
Nah.
I think that because their video production team is so good, is why when COVID hit, we got the Bray Wyatt John Cena match that we did that was like a cinematic
Mm-hmm.
match and it worked.
Right.
And we got the Undertaker Triple H match that worked. I mean, it wasn't an in the ring match, but they did the best that they could. They made it interesting. And I was like, they made the most of what
Yes.
they had to work with. And that to me was like, even in the time, I was like irritated, but I think everybody was irritated because everyone was just like, oh God, this sucks. Like, we can't move on with our normal lives. And everyone was just like, man. But then once everyone got good with the idea of like, oh
Yeah,
no,
because it's something different. Everybody can't adjust to change the right way.
we're just settling in here, and that's past that. Um,
Yeah,
I think I think anybody with a solid brain that isn't so heavily critical is just going to look back and be like, yeah, no, they did what they could, they did what they had to, and that was it, right? Um, Anthem, one set,
absolutely.
wrap us up.
Yeah, man. Uh, thank you all for tuning in. We love you all. Thank you for continuing to tune in weekly with us. Uh, Again, we have some fun content coming for you guys for the rest of this month. Uh, Send in those voice messages. We'll be putting out a post for some specifics for another episode that we're coming up with, and we will see you all on the next one. Love you, buddy.
Love you, bro.